BLG yesterday. MKOI, definitely underdogs, but let's not count them out just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. And here we are into the pick and ban for game number 1. They have taken ThinkGod's advice, as the Yone will be taken away from Jojo Pyun. He had such an incredible performance on that champion just the last couple of days. So not going to be seeing that one just yet. The first ban on the Vi is interesting. I think Pantheon stock's going through the roof here. Owner loving the Xin Zhao as well, something that they could also look at potentially, as Super not going to be playing the Varus. The first blue side Varus ban that we've seen so far all tournament.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially considering how good Guma is at the champion. So surprised to see that, as Orianna will also be taken away from Faker. It was kind of his exclusive pick through MSI, has now grown in popularity even outside of the Nocturne Orianna combos that Owner is so known for playing. So the Pantheon is left up, and it feels kind of a no-brainer to just take that one here. And as a result, we'll see Jojo instantly lock the Taliyah to kind of push those Azir stocks down a little bit for Faker. Faker often will first pick the Azir. He's so known for it across so many metas across the last 5 years. Yeah. But in this game, the Pantheon is going to rise in priority, so the Taliyah goes over. We'll see if he wants to play the Azir into it, but my guess, my gut feeling is going to be no.
I mean, you could just play the Rise if you'd like to, but instead he just says, no, I can just play Azir into anything and I don't care.
You could have also played the Ahri, but with this Rumble, they do just want to have some additional scaling damage here. And the peel is going to be nice as well. We'll see what the answer to this top lane Rumble pick is going to be. We've seen teams pick up the Aurora. We've seen the Galio even played in the top side. We know Merwin's got a pretty large champion pool. He is going to opt into that Aurora I was mentioning here as the response.
He looked pretty good on it when we saw it last time around, so trusting him to be able to play that up against Doran on his Rumble does make a fair bit of sense. Doran not necessarily known for his laning phase, but his team fighting on this Rumble could be absolutely terrifying. And T1 already representing 3 champions that they have shown a lot of proficiency on so far this year. But the answers are there, right? Like, I think Poppy is fantastic into this composition alongside the Taliyah, the anti-dash duo, right?
Yeah, I love these bans from the side of MKOI, though. Like, Guma always picks Xayah in these types of scenarios. He prefers Xayah to the Ezreal. We know that. We've talked about this over the last year specifically, as we had some changes in the bottom lane early on in 2025, but he just does not prefer the Ezreal. He prefers the Xayah. That's taken away. The Lucian that could dominate lane is also gone here, so really smart bans. The Kai'Sa also taken away here in turn with the Rel gone. And Corki is going to be the opt-in here for Supa in this bottom lane. Now, we have seen Guma crush Corki lanes in the past with both the Kalista and the Caitlyn. As 2 picks he loves to play alongside Keria. We saw the double marksman lanes a few years ago where they were crushing lanes like that. So that could be something they opt for here for sure.
What is it, like 20 games in a row that Kalista has lost?
Just Nico Kalista?
Nico is going to be locked in. Is it going to be Kalista? Is Kalista going to be picking up her first win in a while? The answer is
no. The Ezreal lock-in though, Guma. You know, they didn't expect him to play it. They banned the Xayah and the Lucian instead, and he will just turn expectations on their head here and lock this one in. Playing the Nautilus into this, though, is going to be so tricky in the early laning phase. Surprised to see that, especially with so many range supports available here. I mean, playing something like Bard Corki doesn't feel great, but at the end of the day, sure, you can press R onto this Ezreal. The mobile Azir also relatively easy to lock down. You have great single target CC. You get the flip back, after, for example, Poppy pushes somebody into the wall, then the Nautilus ult comes down, the hook comes down. You can lock down that Ezreal with this pick. I think for the comp, it makes sense, but for that bottom 2v2 is going to be a tough lane to play out here for Avaro.
It really is. I do think that they needed Engage, so you can understand why it happened. It just feels really bad that it had to, right? For that laning phase that you were talking about. I think the lanes for T1 have been set up pretty effectively, and we'll just have to see whether that early game is going to be what we expect from this T1 roster, or whether MKOI are going to be able to turn some heads, make some surprises happen, because they may need to. They want to get themselves into this one earlier on. But a lot of tools for later on in the game, right? Keeper's Verdict, so incredibly powerful around neutral objectives later on in the game. Certainly some things that could flip the script, and we'll see whether they can actually do so up against our title defenders here at EWC.
Faker has been super happy to play the Azir into the Taliyah so often, even though so many of our mid laners right now in this meta shy away from it. It's Faker's pick. It's the iconic, safe, blends well with anything, goes into any composition, evergreen pick for Faker. Specifically in game ones, on blue side, we see him do this all the time. So with a lot of other mid laners, I'd be a little bit concerned about the matchup, but for Faker, not so much.
Nope. He certainly would like to pick it anytime he can. So ladies and gentlemen, let's do it. Onto the Rift for game number 1. T1 versus MKOI. We'll see whether Movistar Koi, the first seed from the LEC, can join G2 in the semi-finals. That would be absolutely insane. Imagine that bounce back from the LEC. A disappointing MSI, and then making it all the way to the top 4 for both of their representatives here at EWC. That would be insane. But tough competition in T1, and that would also mean that we'd lose 2 LCK teams.
That's right.
Before the semis. I
was going to mention that. We already lost Hanwha Life Esports yesterday. There is a world where we could have no LCK representatives in top 4 after today's matches. That's not the expectation, but it is a possibility. It keeps all LCK fans a little bit on edge. Faker going for lethal tempo in this draft here, so we'll have a lot of late game damage. And, that sustained damage on top of the fact that they have the Rumble equalizer set up and the poke from Guma on neutral objectives does feel like it's very well-rounded. For the side of MKOI, they have a decent amount of damage as well, but it's really just about getting those single target picks that'll allow them to clean up fights so easily. It's not that they can't win a front-to-back team fight, but that's not really the MO. You just want to delete one of these carries instantly, and then the fight just becomes so much simpler after that for Supa to play out.
Yep. And so Minion's going to be crashing in all of these lanes momentarily, already here in the mid lane, of course. And let's see what Jojo can actually make happen, as we'll see whether the aggression is going to be starting immediately here on this bottom side, as Keria and Guma should be able to get a lot of control with the double ranged nature of this combo. And you can see already getting the damage down. Guma actually just walking towards Supa and Alvaro. And
nice tempo heal there, will be traded, but I mean, Ezreal is actually quite scary at level 1. He starts stacking up his passive. You start hitting those Qs even onto minions, and you're like, you just can't compete with me with that poke coming through from the Nico. This is what we were talking about with that Nautilus pick. It's just so challenging to play this out early. The Aftershock isn't going to do anything for you against those early level 1 abilities. Yeah. So you're just going to eat the damage. You're going to have to heal in return.
Faker also taking a fair bit of damage here. As you can see, Jojo does take a turret shot, but he's not going to be too worried about it. Faker going home pretty quickly here. But nothing really to worry about, only 1 CS behind, and the rest of the map is looking pretty good. There's the hook in, but I don't know whether he really wanted that, as there is the Aftershock wearing off the flash forward from Keria. Not quite enough as Super is standing his ground. I don't know whether he really wants to, and I think that MKOI are going to take a little bit of a break here towards this bottom side.
Sometimes you pick Aftershock and you're like, I got to get value out of it, man. I got to make sure it happens.
Yeah, well, he did get value.
Yeah, that was an extremely risky choice there that will cost him his flash. Keria does flash, of course, a return to try to secure that one, but a very big trade up here for the side of T1. They may even be able to get some decent spawns here if they can land some poke onto Supa now. So not really the exchange they were looking for, as Guma starts to stack up a significant CS advantage, and we'll be able to take the free back now.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. You can see elsewhere on the map, though, it's MKOI that's able to answer. Moen here towards the top side especially is really putting Doran down. We know this is a difficult matchup for the Rumble, but good to see that he is playing it to what we expect. Azona moving over a bit of a 2v2 here, but Faker is still very, very low, has just teleported in as well. So not necessarily having the greatest of times here in this laning phase thus far. Jojo having a good time. As Aaron is a minion moving towards this Scuttle Crab, and Faker taken down to 100 up.
Man, one more of those unraveled hits Faker, and Jojo could have maybe looked to flash for the kill there. Very close. But like you said, already pushing his teleport away, forcing a back here, having both Alvaro and Elyoya coming over to kind of assist with this push. And you could see some of the best in the West. We saw this from Caps yesterday as well. Into Night, you can push those small advantages, force an early teleport, then snowball that lane. It gives you so much map control. Look at how much control MKOI have now over the top side of the map to match this lane swap. See the TP back into the bottom lane to match Doran there for Merwin. Small moves like this can add up for sure. As you can see, a 10 CS advantage here now for Jojo Pyung.
Yep, about a 200 gold lead is what has resulted from this one for MKOI. But we haven't seen any of these early skirmishes just yet, and we know this is all about hitting level 6, finding some of these team fights for T1. There's a lot of AoE and there is a lot of consistent damage here for this composition. They work on 2 items very, very effectively. But we'll just have to see, because we did have pretty high hopes for how the laning phase was going to look. But I think Moen doing fantastically there in the topside matchup. And the lane swaps that are able to come in do manage to get Super and Alvaro into a better position.
It's a little bit awkward here for this first Dragon, as Faker is fairly low here in the mid lane, just trying to shove this wave out with his recurve bow, but is unable to do so. And I feel like this is going to force Owner to get some sort of successful gank off here. Otherwise, the Dragon may simply just go, as Doran is also backing right now. Not that they could take it immediately here, but it's full control as Kuma.
X-Flash. Just Arcane Shift, able to get himself out of there as Faker dealing with some rocks here that are on the ground as Carrier looking for an opportunity, finds the snare, and that is first blood to the Nico.
Such a razor-thin margin to pull this off. Carrier goes for the heal to get basically the point-blank snare there onto Jojopyun and take him out despite the flash attempt. Down he goes. And this was that gank I was talking about from Owner, where things are looking really dire here. You lost control of this mid lane. Owner needs to make something happen. Barely gets that stun. Tons of damage with Faker at basically 1% health here. Coming out. Carrier gets the heal here. Is able to get the snare. Jojopyun goes down despite the flash. And it's so frustrating when you've spent so long getting these massive advantages in mid lane. You've really pushed the envelope there, and you barely get caught. Yep. And now all those leads you had are washed away.
He did manage to get 2 flashes out of it. Of course, Carrier and Owner both, it was flash and heal. So 2 summoner spells.
Sure.
In the trade for just his flash. But still, first blood going over to T1, and it is still a very good news story, especially for Faker, who is starting to fall pretty far behind. As you can see, Super going in with a little bit of a Valkyrie forward. Emperor's Divide here from Faker as Elyoya just pushing him back. Faker has spent this whole game on very low health, but that is not dead, and that is absolutely fine, as Doran and Moen striking one another once again here towards the bottom side, but no kills going to come of it. A lot of buttons being pressed and not a lot of results happening. Wolf?
Yeah, not quite at this moment in time, but a lot of pressure here on the top side of the map. There's a minute before Grubs. Kuma got a barrier.
Yeah, barrier coming on through. Super returning the favor. As Doran has been in this brush, it feels like, for a while. As he flashes forward, just looks for the solo kill, needs another harpoon. Just one more, and Moen will go down. He silences himself, but he's not silenced after that, and that is a solo kill here for the Rumble.
Doran has had such a great start to the year here, and it continues in this game. Was down a little bit on CS, but will win the 1v1. I like the pressure that Supa is putting up here onto Guma, because Faker once again was forced to back in the mid lane, so Carrier was showing mid. And so he's putting that pressure on at the same time, as the flash here is not enough. Doran follows, gets the flamethrower, and Owner a bit overextended.
I actually thought that there might be another turret shot coming for him there, and that would have been a dead Owner, but he is able to get out just in time. Gumayushi finding the true shot barrage, is now Faker in trouble yet again. Keeper's Verdict does get the flash out, and Faker does go down. Elyoya brings the hammer down and takes out the GOAT. So I think it's going to be 1 back for MKOI.
You know, I said earlier I wasn't worried about Faker in this matchup, but Jojo is just smashing him as Guma's in trouble again.
Chain shift, the flash after him there, but not quite enough to get the kill. As Alvaro having to deal with Carrier now, who doesn't quite have enough damage in these autos. Super going to push him away, and T1 will remain alive at least for now.
MKOI are using Jojo's leads in the mid lane to get advantages everywhere else, but specifically in the top lane, as Owner is constantly having to camp and babysit Faker here in the mid lane. That means Grubs goes over. They end up nearly getting that kill in the top side there. It's not quite enough damage to secure it, but they just have so much pressure on the fact that Jojo is winning this lane so hard. Despite the fact that he was ganked and killed earlier, he continues to put that pressure on, and this is really hurting T1's early game now. Gold is still in their favor, but you can see the edges that MKOI are able to pick up just from that mid matchup alone. Alvaro, though,
this is not exactly where he wants to be, and can't even get the Aftershock to do anything. And so he is just going to melt. This should be that T1 can now turn that into a dragon and really start to assert their dominance as Faker looks for an angle. Don't know whether he really wanted to, but that was it was kind of fun, kind of exciting.
We'll just try to keep Jojo away. Jojo didn't even have ult, though, to try to come over here and contest for this dragon. And with the death on Alvaro there, I just don't think it was ever really going to be one. So now T1 picking up that very strong first Infernal Drake worth of stats. Merwin doesn't have flash, but I don't think with the Owner being on this ward, there's really a play-making opportunity here, as we'll go back to what happened moments before.
This was the first kill for MKOI.
Yeah.
Elyoya just gets in there.
Yep, just Elyoya catching Faker. And I mean, Faker's had a bit of a tough start in this one. You know, frankly, despite the cool gank we saw from Owner, just so much pressure onto Faker has kept T1 on the top side a little bit muted. It's a lead for Guma right now, as you can see, just 200 gold, but you know, the 3 grubs will be relevant later on.
Certainly will. And of course, it is a tough matchup for Faker there in the mid lane, but we have seen it handled better in the past by other players. So certainly, shout-outs go to Jojo playing this one very, very well. And like you say, they've been playing around that advantage that he's picked up. And even, like, I do feel like as we get further into this, the fact that Doran gets that solo kill in this lane that we're seeing right now is going to be very, very important, because if that was continuing to go downhill for T1, they wouldn't have a lot of positives on the map. It's Faker managing to get the sidestep there in the mid lane. That's working out a whole lot better. As look at this, the Flame Spit is really doing work here from Doran in this bottom lane.
Yeah, with the builds that we're seeing here too for the side of MKOI, you know, it's a little bit safer for Jojo rather than going for a really big damage build. He is going for Seraphs in this game, and that may hurt this mid game for them. Faker doesn't have any grubs for side lane with the fast Nashor's Tooth he's going for here as well, so that isn't necessarily what he is looking for. Is once again, be super careful going to these choke points with double control ward vision here for T1. Trying to force anything against a Pantheon could be very problematic, but they want to try to make sure Merwin can get this back off here.
Well, he is going to be able to make it underneath his turret. That should keep them alive. His owner is spotted, but Alvaro also in an uncomfortable position. Doran also might need to try and get out of here. Didn't have the flash, so he has no hope of making that happen. Still, this Nautilus is in trouble. The Pop Blossom only finding one, but Jojo just melts. Owner destroys him by accident as he's killing the Nautilus. Merwin might suffer the same fate. Decent sidestep there on the Q. But actually, he's going to survive. Merwin pretty good at dabbing so far this tournament. Yeah. He's going to do it again.
He certainly is quite good at it. He's showing his aura time after time, as that seems to be the word of the tournament. But the guy does get out of there. The start of things were a little bit rough for T1. Doran going in there like that, knowing where everyone was. Like, they had full vision, they had full information. It was a little bit bizarre. He ends up dying. Does a ton of damage, though, before he goes down. And that's when things get a little bit iffy here. And going into the Pop Blossom, Jojo here off the wall. Not really what I think he was looking for. A bit optimistic on that one. At least Merwin does survive here as he gets the sidestep on this Q, and then the follow-up one as well. And that's massive. Owner's not too happy about it, of course, but at the end of the day, it's still a big win in the fight for T1.
It was. I feel like Owner's look just there, as you can see, did the most damage in the fight, but he was also just like, hey man, he sidestepped everything. And let's give it to him. As MKOI looking for a little bit of an angle. They think that they may have found Owner yet again. Sorry, Doran yet again, but Owner is there. Alvaro a little bit too far away. And T1, we're looking for that rotation over. Not actually necessary, as everyone is going to back away.
Doran got that really cool solo kill earlier, but is probably going to have to play around the lack of information he has a little bit better here, or he's not going to be having a good time, because that lead is gone now. He is, in fact, behind Merwin at this point in time. Jojo's going to get a free plate here on the top side of the map. Those grubs really helping to take these turrets down quickly. I mean, you can just see any additional time given over to even a Talia at this stage of the game with no first completed item. Just going to get damage done. It's going to give you some free gold, going to give you that side lane pressure. And T1 also going to lose a plate here in the mid lane. And just like that, you know, we see MKOI catching up in gold here.
And it was starting to sneak up to, you know, one of the more larger gold advantages that we've seen in the earlier stages of the game. But like you say, keeping it to about 1,000 and at 14 minutes as these plates are about to fall, that is not the biggest deal. The MKOI fans, as you can see there, I mean, feeling too worried about this just yet.
It's 150 gold, the difference between the 80 carries who are both looking for the exact same 2-item power spike, right? So that's not a big deal. Doran losing his flash, though, that's a pretty big one. And then you have a lot of kills on the Pantheon as, Faker.
Speaking of losing stuff, Faker is just going to have to use his ultimate, but doesn't have to use the flash, so he'll be able to hold on to that one. As Doran finding an angle once again, but Equalizer goes down. Great seismic shove from Jojo to make sure he keeps the space. So Doran not going to be able to sink his teeth in as Dragon number 2 coming on through here for T1.
This
Are
is
we going to
pretty
get
huge
Earth, Wind, and Fire to start this off for T1 yet again? I feel like they do it all the time.
Well, they end up getting the double lead. It's going to be Hextech even better.
Yeah.
And Merwin, you know, he's not able to join that fight there. They almost got Faker, but he's able to disengage away. They had full control over the bottom side there. Doran winning that fight, now having TP coming online here feels pretty huge for him, as JoJoPyeon was unable to join the fight. We'll just TP back to the top side, and T1 winning on the map here. Feeling pretty good about that. Some of these leads, though, you know, for T1 are, I think, smaller than they may appear. Like when you look at a 1,000 gold lead, is JoJo stunned up the wall.
Yeah, not going to be riding that one towards his turret, and just one more auto is going to be required. Ona misses another Q, but he's in melee range, so it's going to be absolutely fine. Elioya a little bit late to this one.
I mean, that's a free Herald.
Yeah, and that's also going to be feats of strength as well. So T1 taking everything that they want from this map right now.
I mean, I was going to make the point that Owner having 3 kills, now 4, wasn't necessarily a huge boon for T1, but if you're able to turn that lead into a solo kill on the mid laner, into an objective, then yeah, I guess, you know, you're feeling pretty good about what you're using your gold for so far in this game, and he will just straight up catch JoJoPyeon unawares, get him off the wall there. Now they've got some extra damage on this turret. Faker gonna sink his Gnasher's teeth right into it, and it's a ton of damage. Now this lead is starting to balloon, right? It doubled from 1,000 to 2,000 off that play alone. They will have the Herald, which they could even wait and use for the mid turret as that third dragon spawns to give them Hextech Soul Point. T1 are really starting to pull ahead in this one.
Yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. They've got all of the feats of strength, everything about it ever. It doesn't actually say at the top of the screen because they already had them, but they take the first turret as well. So running the map at this point in time is T1. And so we'll see Gumushi here in this mid lane just trying to make sure that Super can't get any more damage onto this outer turret. That would certainly be phenomenal here for MKOI if they wanted to try and get some control back themselves. Carrier looking for an opportunity. They know that that one is him because, of course, the real Azir is on the top side of the map. JoJo did just spot Faker out. Now moving over. Hexgate's on the map as well, giving Carrier all of this ability to utilize some funny business, and he does really like to do so.
Merwin cleared this wave, but still apprehensive about hanging around this turret. It's gonna look for, oh man, double root.
There's the double snare. It is just Carrier, so he doesn't have a whole lot of follow-up damage, but there's a True Shot Barrage. That's gonna connect, and Alvaro now has to go.
They can go for this. They have the Hextech Gate. Remember, Owner does not have his ultimate here, but if Carrier finds him in that brush, he's potentially dead.
He's got some weirding. It's okay. Goes stealth for a few moments.
That's the turret. You know, you just kind of hang around here, put that pressure on, clear the waves, use the Hextech Gate, and just push him off the map. And look at the cross map. JoJo isn't even really hitting the midway point. He's just now pushing through. Wants to be able to get that turret in exchange there on the top side of the map. But T1 have TP for Doran. He can come over there and deny it. There's just no way that JoJoPyeon can pick that one up. And T1 are winning on both sides of the map yet again. 2 minutes until that Hextech Drake does spawn. The gold lead is getting bigger and bigger here. This Poppy priority, I didn't dislike it, but I feel like T1 have a draft that just don't really care about the steadfast presence, and this Pantheon priority that they got, which was left open, has been the whole story here. 5 out of 6 of T1's kills, and Owner is everywhere, man.
Yeah. Owner is like the whole team right now, as Carrier making pigeon noises again. I love it. We can have 3 pigeons on the map at any one time as he pulls out the clone. True Shot Barrage spots out exactly where Elioya is. And now Rift Herald thrown into this mid lane, and we'll see whether T1 can crack this turret. That would be so much control of the map. It would actually be ridiculously bad for MKOI. As Doran over to the side, he finds an equalizer here and has started off the fight. Breaks the arm guard to make sure he doesn't get flicked back as Super, having to flash himself out of the way. Elioya doing exactly the same thing, but Owner is flashing on top of him. JoJo, no mana and no hope to get out of this one, but does hit a very nice shove with the last remaining bit of blue stuff to keep himself alive, and Alvaro not going to be as lucky, so that is all they're able to pick up. We mentioned how valuable this outer turret is in mid.
Yeah.
That is also going to fall.
It's Super is also dead, I think. Well,
here?
Yeah, he's dead.
He's real dead.
Also, the inner is going to go down in mid.
Oh, okay. Wasn't quite expecting that, as Empress Divide is going to be avoided. That was pretty nicely done from Elioya, as Merwin just going to get cut down. And the main carry, I mean, they took down the GOAT. That's great. But it's Owner that's really doing all the work this game.
Yeah, Owner actually should be able to get out of here, no problem as well. And man, was really close until it wasn't. There's so many things that went wrong here in the mid game for MKOI. But for example, that pick onto Doran they looked for, T1 has always been so famed as, speaking of, he may get interrupted here. He will.
Yeah. Oh, really? It wasn't caught window shopping at all. But like himself a hex gate to get out.
T1 are so famous, or it's usually Faker, but it has been Zeus in the past. Now it's Doran. Of making a target look vulnerable, then utilizing globals to just turn fights on. Oh no, maybe Doran could be caught. Oh no, actually we just crushed the fight. You thought you could get him, you use a lot of tools to catch him. Owner shows up, we turn the fight, we crush you, we get everything we want. And speaking of everything, there's no way MKOI can come up here and realistically look for a contest on this dragon, but they have to, right? Because they can't give over Soul Point for free, but they're just so far behind, they have no vision, it's completely dark. Best of luck, MKOI, in this one. I just don't see it.
They're just not going to fight for it. I think fighting for the Otacon is going to be pretty important, though. That is going to give T1 so much extra power on top of the fact that they have Soul Point. I mean, they just can't keep getting away with everything, right? Like, if you give everything, your Nexus is on the list at some point, right? And then you give that away and you lose. So MKOI going to have to try and contest something, but it's not going to be this Otacon. It's not going to be the Soul Point. And it's maybe the next Baron? Maybe it's their base turrets? I don't know. Pop Blossom only going to connect onto one, though, as Carrier kind of going rogue in this one. Merwin throws down the ulti as Ona gets into that backline, not quite able to get over that wall. And now another angle from Carrier is going to get found. Oh my goodness, he actually does a fair bit of damage. True Shot Barrage to finish off Jojo is beautiful by Gumayushi. I don't even know whether that should have worked, but they're so far ahead that it absolutely did.
Yeah, it absolutely did. Carrier just keeps hitting these roots. He's been hitting them all game long.
It's like the Pop Blossom didn't quite work,
the Pop Blossom
but he still has an E.
Yeah, it's like the Pop Blossom doesn't matter, but he just keeps doing a lot of poke damage and getting roots. And it's like, well, I guess that's good enough, as Faker is actually on the cusp of potentially getting a solo kill here, but isn't going to risk it, as Merwin does have his flash available, so could flash the wall and perhaps take him out. But I mean, you look at where we are now, you know, the Otacon, 38 to 6 petals. Like, it usually doesn't get to be that big. But yeah, I mean, the Pop Blossom isn't amazing, but Carrier flashes the wall here. And then at this point, like, how do you fight this? The Equalizer catches Alvaro, Merwin's out of the fight, so he can't help heal. And Carrier's just like, I'm on the edge here, I'm playing through this control ward, gets the root, Jojo's pushed out. Supa cannot get close enough to actually finish off these low health targets, or he'll just get exploded on. And Guma is able to follow up so easily here. True Shot Barrage angle, fantastic. And he's not done there. He's like, I'm looking for more. I want to go forward here. He does think better of it, of course, does not go across the line, but...
Yeah, 2-0 though in the end there for T1, and they managed to get Otacon, they managed to get the Soul Point. 3 minutes on Hex Tech Soul, ladies and gentlemen, and now Merwin trying to deal with this push from T1, and oh god, the Equalizer just takes 50% of both of the carries' health bars as Faker has found Alvaro, and yeah, Aftershock is not going to help you there. As Ona gets flicked back, but it just looks like it does nothing but tickle this Pantheon. And MKOI really running out of options here in this game. Maybe the focus is going to be on what are we going to do to make sure this doesn't happen in Game 2. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Fearless Drop. It's not going to happen like this again. As Pop Blossom trying to catch Supa, and Ona, he finds the Q this time. He's also going to Starfall on top of Elyoya, so they're looking for even more than this. Merwin is even further away from his base, but does manage to lay down the ulti, and that is the shutdown onto Ona. Maybe T1 have pushed a little far forward, as also Carrier will be falling. Faker's there, not going to be too weird.
I mean, they're going to get two
taking the inner turret in the top lane. Doran doing the same thing bottom lane. Maybe 3 versus 5 wasn't the move.
It might not have been the move, but getting 3 turrets feels pretty good in exchange. As Carrier, man, once again, look at this. Gets him on the edge, gets the follow-up route and the Q. Carrier plus Owner's poke coming through as well. I'd love to see it. We saw it a moment ago, but I wasn't really looking at it. I'd love to see Carrier's damage this game because it's probably insanely high. Saw Merwin was actually competing with Guma. He's done a lot of work in this game, but it just has not been enough to secure the eliminations required, as Guma barely avoids that dredge line. Could have been worse there had he been taken out. But like I said, Faker gets that inner on the top side. Doran gets the inner bottom side. 2 more exposed inhibitor turrets. The inhibitor in mid itself is exposed. and we're 70 seconds away from T1 getting their 4th Drake of the game, the Hextech Soul, which is probably, there's very few champions that can get value out of that more than Ezreal. And,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. And Azir. Oh, God.
Karia's damage is higher than Supa's in this game by 2,000.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's also higher than Faker's, so we're not gonna give.
That's true.
Yeah, that's just I guess Keria on the Nico things.
Fakers are mostly PvEing in this game, to be fair, but Keria, man, he's all PvP since the laning phase.
He only does the PvP. He doesn't even know what the PvE content is. Like that's the kind of player.
He's a support player. He doesn't kill minions ever.
Trishna Barrage doing a fair bit of work here as Alvaro. He hasn't even started anything yet, and he's below half health. As MKOI, they know that Baron is on the menu. They are looking to try and stop T1 from taking it. One last team fight might be the desperate option here for the LEC representatives. Azalioya looking for an opportunity. Alvaro also there. But like the 1-3-1 is continuing, and T1 are still getting the push, even though they have way less people here in this mid lane. Faker moving over, and Hextech Soul just a little bit too inviting.
Like I said, man,
give up position on the Baron.
Faker's been PvEing this game, and one of the big E's to get is that Hextech Soul. He's going to come over here with his jungler, as T1 otherwise just 3-manning here in mid. Keria looking for more.
Okay, well, Owner can turn up at a moment's notice, but Faker is going to take a little while longer. Never mind, he's teleporting in. Alvaro flashes out the Pop Blossom onto everyone in that red pit. And down goes Jojo. Supa's just getting out of there, able to use those Hex Gates, and now the rest of MKOI is scattering to the wind. Gumayusi dashing over, and look at that. The beautiful Hextech Soul, ladies and gentlemen. There is no way you can get away from T1. And it's a 10,000 gold lead. It's only a matter of time, as Ona not going to quite be able to execute Super on this one.
Keria.
Keria just being weird. Does get a solo kill in the end, as Ona just flashed for that, and Keria said, no, man.
There was just no respect shown for the fact that Keria had flashed Pop Blossom. Like, the whole time he was just in range. Like, he practically didn't even need to flash for a few of the angles he had, and then they went in, and he's like, all right, well, here we go.
Yeah, I guess I kill you all.
It's been mostly about my snares today, but I guess I will find the big Pop Blossom angle in this one, as they get the Dragon for free, as T1 win the numbers disadvantage fight there on the top side. As the MKOI fans aren't going to give up, but I think really they're cheering for what the draft might look like in Game 2 at this point, with an 11,000 gold lead here. Hextech Soul play. Like, look at Keria. He is here. He has Flash. He has Pop Blossom. The Weaver's Wall's coming down. Like, Keria's like, well, I guess if you guys want to stack up right here, I'll give it to you.
Yep, and everyone gets over the wall, and so Keria's like, well, I have Flash, so you're all dead. Trishna Barrage here going to get so much value there from Gumayusi, as maybe it's just a triple. It is not, as Owner is going to be able to secure that last one onto Elyoya. But now it is what feels like a victory march here for T1, as they notice they've taken down the inhibitor in mid. That's all they're going to need to win this game, as Empress Divide from Faker will pick up Super one more time, as Moon is dabbing in between all of T1. And T1 looking pretty serious about defending their title here at EWC, as they will be able to take down their first Nexus of 2025.
T1 looking back saying, please, minions, let's get over here and get it done.
Double super minion wave. That's kind of cool. I thought you needed to take all the inhibitors before that one happens.
Down it goes.
When you've got a Nico, as down goes the Nexus. T1 will be able to win Game 1 of this best of 3.
Let's not forget, this game started out with a bit of a mid-gap. You know, JoJo had a lot of an advantage there, and I do think that if you didn't watch the early game, of this one, you might forget that this was definitely a winnable and playable game for MKOI. They had a lot of advantages early. They kept the bottom lane gold very, very close. We saw Doran struggling in the early laning phase, but it all just came together around team play, around the map, and playing through this global pantheon. Owner was definitely the MVP for me in this first game, even though Keria had some amazing snares, was able to really change the course of a lot of these team fights. Owner just patched all the holes, babysat Faker, and man, T1, it was a rough start, but the ending was dominant.
It was, but there is still way more to be played. As ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether MKOI can bring it to 3.